Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and watched the stars through the main window. His crew had been traveling through space for 3 months now. They were looking for new planets and checking if any life existed in the Kepler 442 system. The mission was supposed to be simple and safe. Lisa Wong looked up from her science station and called out to the captain. She was the chief science officer and had been studying space readings all morning. Her face showed worry as she checked her instruments again. Something was not right with the energy readings she was getting from the nearby area. Kyle Johnson sat at the communications desk and tried to make sense of the strange signals coming through his equipment. He had been working with space communications for 10 years, but had never seen anything like this before. The signals seemed to have a pattern, but it was unlike anything humans had ever created. Alex Turner walked onto the bridge wearing his Marine uniform. He was the commander of the security team and always stayed alert for any danger. His job was to protect the crew if anything went wrong during their mission. He noticed the worried looks on everyone's faces and knew something important was happening. Jake asked Lisa what she had found. She told him that massive objects were moving toward their ship from the far side of the system. The objects were much larger than any human ship, and they were moving faster than should be possible. The energy readings showed technology that was far beyond what humans could build. Kyle suddenly straightened up in his chair and announced that the signals were getting stronger. He said the patterns were becoming clearer, and it seemed like someone was trying to communicate. The signals were coming from the same direction as the large objects Lisa had detected. Alex suggested that they should prepare for the worst-case situation. He wanted to charge their weapons and get ready to fight if needed. Jake thought about this, but decided they should try to communicate first. If these were aliens, then this could be the most important moment in human history. The main screen lit up and showed 5 enormous ships approaching their position. The ships looked like nothing humans had ever built. They were dark and had a smooth surface that seemed to change color as they moved. Each ship was at least 10 times larger than the horizon's edge. Lisa ran more scans and told the captain that the ships contained life forms. The readings showed that thousands of beings were on each ship. The life forms seemed to be intelligent and had technology that was centuries ahead of human science. Kyle worked frantically at his station and managed to establish a communication link with the alien ships. A voice came through the speakers, but it was unlike any human voice. The voice was deep and had a strange musical quality that made everyone on the bridge feel uncomfortable. The alien voice spoke in perfect English, which surprised everyone. The being said they were from the Zephyrian Empire and that they had been watching human ships for some time. They said their queen wanted to meet with the humans and learn more about their species. Jake responded carefully and said that humans were peaceful explorers who wanted to learn about other life in the universe. He explained that they meant no harm and were honored to meet another intelligent species. The alien voice seemed pleased with this response. The aliens invited the human ship to dock with their largest vessel. They promised that no harm would come to the humans and said that their queen was very interested in meeting them. Jake looked at his crew and saw both fear and excitement in their eyes. Alex warned that it could be a trap, but Lisa argued that this was an opportunity that might never come again. Kyle said the aliens could have destroyed their ship easily if they wanted to hurt them. Jake made the decision to accept the invitation. The docking process was smooth, and the alien technology guided their ship perfectly into a large bay inside the alien vessel. When they stepped outside their ship, the humans saw that the aliens looked like large insects that walked upright. The aliens had 4 arms, and their skin changed colors as they moved. The aliens led them through corridors that were beautifully decorated with crystal formations and flowing water. The technology around them seemed to respond to thoughts rather than physical controls. Everything was clean and peaceful. They were brought to a massive throne room where they met Queen Vec. She was larger than the other aliens and wore what looked like a crown made of living light. Her voice was commanding, but not unfriendly as she welcomed the humans to her ship. The Queen asked many questions about human culture and society. She seemed particularly interested in how humans made decisions and how they dealt with conflict. Jake answered as honestly as he could, while trying to represent humanity in a positive way. After talking for nearly an hour, the Queen made an announcement that shocked everyone in the room. She said that she had been studying the humans carefully and had made an important decision. She pointed to Dr. Ryan Clark and said that she had chosen him to be a potential mate for her daughters. Ryan was a young scientist who specialized in studying alien life. He had been quiet during most of the meeting, but had impressed the Queen with his thoughtful questions about Zephyrian culture. He stood frozen as everyone stared at him in disbelief. The Queen's advisors began talking rapidly, in their own language, and their skin colors changed to show their distress. It was clear that they were not happy with their Queen's decision. But Queen Vextera raised one of her hands, and everyone became silent immediately. She explained that her 2 daughters were of age to choose mates, and that she believed a human male could bring new strength to their royal bloodline. She said that Ryan had shown the intelligence and courage that she wanted in her family. No one dared to argue with the Queen's decision. Jake tried to explain that humans had their own customs about marriage, and that Ryan would need time to think about such an important decision. The Queen nodded and said that Ryan would be given time to learn their ways and prove himself worthy through traditional trials. The meeting ended with an agreement that Ryan would stay with the aliens while the rest of the crew returned to report to Earth. Ryan looked scared but also curious about what would happen next. He shook hands with his crewmates and watched as they prepared to leave. As the horizon's edge departed the alien fleet, Jake wondered if they had just witnessed the beginning of a new era for humanity, or if they had lost one of their best people to an alien civilization that they did not understand. Ryan Clark found himself in a room that was unlike anything he had ever seen before. The walls seemed to be made of a material that glowed softly and changed colors based on his emotions. He had been given clothes that fit perfectly even though no one had measured him. The alien technology seemed to know things about him that he did not understand. A tall alien entered his room and introduced herself as Commander Yelanara. She would be his guide during the trials that would test if he was worthy to join the royal family. She explained that no alien species had ever been given this chance before, and that many Zephyrians thought the Queen had made a mistake. The commander led him through the ship to meet the 2 princesses. Princess Kirillin was the older daughter, and she looked at Ryan with cold eyes that seemed to see right through him. She had powerful telepathic abilities, and Ryan could feel her scanning his thoughts without permission. Princess Zaraveth was younger and more curious about the human visitor. She asked him questions about Earth and human customs, while her sister remained silent and suspicious. Ryan tried to answer honestly, while being respectful of their culture and traditions. The Queen had decided that Ryan must pass 5 trials to prove himself worthy. The first trial would test his mental strength against psychic pressure that could drive weaker minds insane. The second trial would test his leadership abilities in combat. The third would test his diplomatic skills with hostile aliens. The fourth would test his understanding of Zephyrian history and culture. The 5th trial would be chosen by the princesses themselves. Ryan was taken to a chamber called the Crystal Maze of Thoughts. The room was filled with floating crystals that hummed with psychic energy. Commander Yelanara warned him that many Zephyrian warriors had failed this test, and some had never recovered their sanity. As soon as Ryan stepped into the chamber, the crystals began to glow brighter, and he felt pressure building inside his head. Voices that were not his own began speaking. In his mind, they told him that he was weak and worthless, and that he would never be accepted by the royal family. The pressure grew stronger, and Ryan felt like his head might explode. He remembered his training as a scientist and tried to think logically about what was happening. The voices were not real, and the pain was just his brain's response to the alien technology. Ryan began to focus on memories of Earth and the people he cared about. He thought about his research and his dream of helping humanity understand other forms of life. The voices became quieter as he strengthened his mental defenses against the psychic attack. After what felt like hours, the crystals stopped glowing and the voices disappeared. Ryan was exhausted, but he had passed the first trial. Commander Yell looked surprised and maybe even impressed as she led him out of the chamber. The second trial took place in a training facility, where Ryan was given command of a mixed unit of human volunteers and Zephyrian soldiers. The humans had been brought from Earth specifically for this test. They were all experienced military personnel who had volunteered for the dangerous mission. Ryan's task was to lead his mixed unit against another team in war games. The opposing team was led by an experienced Zephyrian general who had never lost a training exercise. Ryan studied the abilities of both humans and Zephyrians and tried to figure out how to use their different strengths together. The Zephyrians were stronger and had better technology, but the humans were more adaptable and creative in their thinking. Ryan developed a strategy that used human unpredictability to confuse the enemy, while Zephyrian strength provided the main attack force. During the battle, Ryan had to make quick decisions and keep his mixed unit working together despite their different fighting styles. The humans wanted to charge forward, while the Zephyrians preferred careful planning. Ryan found ways to satisfy both approaches and keep everyone focused on winning. The war games lasted for 6 hours and ended with Ryan's team achieving victory through a surprise attack that the enemy general had not expected. The Zephyrian soldiers, who had been skeptical of human leadership, began to show Ryan more respect after seeing his tactical abilities. The third trial was held in a diplomatic meeting room, where Ryan had to negotiate with representatives from 3 different alien species that were enemies of the Zephyrian Empire. These aliens had been invited specifically to test Ryan's ability to handle hostile situations. The first alien was from a warrior race that believed in settling all disputes through combat. The second alien was from a merchant species that only cared about profit and trade advantages. The third alien was from a religious order that viewed all other species as inferior beings. Ryan had to find common ground with all 3 aliens while defending Zephyrian interests and human values. He spent hours listening to their complaints and demands while trying to understand what each species really wanted from the negotiations. The warrior alien respected strength, so Ryan spoke firmly and did not back down from their threats. The merchant alien wanted profitable trade deals, so Ryan proposed exchanges that would benefit everyone involved. The religious alien needed to feel superior, so Ryan acknowledged their spiritual wisdom while maintaining his own beliefs. By the end of the negotiations, Ryan had managed to create agreements that satisfied all 3 alien species without compromising Zephyrian security or human dignity. The hostile aliens left the meeting with more respect for both humans and Zephyrians than they had arrived with. The fourth trial required Ryan to study thousands of years of Zephyrian history and culture in just 1 week. He was given access to their most advanced learning technology that could transfer knowledge directly into his brain. The process was painful but extremely effective. Ryan learned about the Zephyrian rise to power and their conquest of dozens of star systems. He studied their art and philosophy and their complex social structure. He discovered that their matriarchal society had developed because female Zephyrians had stronger telepathic abilities that were needed for governing their empire. The test required Ryan to answer complex questions about Zephyrian law and tradition, while also explaining how human customs might blend with alien culture. He had to show that he understood not just the facts, but the deeper meaning behind Zephyrian civilization. Ryan passed this trial by demonstrating that he respected Zephyrian culture while still maintaining his human identity. He proposed ways that human and Zephyrian traditions could complement each other rather than compete with each other. When the 4 trials were complete, both princesses met with Ryan to discuss the 5th and final trial. Princess Kirillin had been watching him carefully throughout all the tests, and her attitude toward him had begun to change. She was still suspicious, but she could no longer deny that he had proven himself capable. Princess Zareveth had become genuinely interested in Ryan's perspective on life and leadership. She enjoyed their conversations about the differences between human and Zephyrian society. She asked him questions about human emotions and individual freedom that were foreign concepts in her culture. The two sisters decided that the final trial would be a test of Ryan's ability to understand and connect with both of them on a personal level. They would each spend time alone with him and judge whether they could imagine sharing their lives with a human mate. Ryan knew that this final trial might be the most difficult of all, because it was not about skills or knowledge, but about genuine, emotional connection between beings from different worlds. He would have to open his heart to two alien princesses, while hoping that they might accept him as he truly was. The trials had been exhausting, but Ryan felt that he had learned more about himself and about what it meant to be human than ever before. He had proven that humans could adapt to any situation and find ways to bridge even the greatest differences between species. As he prepared for the final trial, Ryan wondered if he was ready to leave his old life behind and become part of an alien royal family. The choice would change not just his future, but possibly the relationship between humans and Zephyrians for generations to come. Ryan spent his first day with Princess Kirillin in the royal gardens, where exotic plants from dozens of worlds grew together in perfect harmony. She had been cold and distant during the trials, but now she seemed genuinely curious about his thoughts and feelings. She asked him to explain human emotions, because Zephyrians experienced feelings differently through their telepathic connections. The princess told Ryan that she had been skeptical of her mother's choice because she believed humans were too primitive to understand Zephyrian complexity. She had expected him to fail the trials and prove that aliens should not be allowed into their royal bloodline. His success had forced her to reconsider her assumptions about human capabilities. Ryan explained that humans might lack telepathic abilities, but they had developed strong emotional intelligence through thousands of years of learning to communicate without reading minds. He told her that human relationships were built on trust and understanding rather than mental connections. Princess Kirillin found this concept fascinating because Zephyrian society had always relied on telepathic bonds to maintain harmony. She had never considered that beings could develop close relationships without sharing thoughts directly. She began to see that human methods might actually create stronger connections based on choice rather than biology. Their conversation was interrupted when Commander Yelenara brought urgent news from the capital planet. Political tensions were rising because word of the Queen's decision had spread throughout the Empire. Many Zephyrian nobles were angry that an alien had been chosen for the royal family, and some were calling for the Queen to change her mind. Princess Kirillin became worried about her mother's safety and the stability of their government. She explained to Ryan that Zephyrian politics could be dangerous when different factions disagreed with royal decisions. The military leadership and religious authorities were both expressing concerns about mixing alien genetics with royal bloodlines. Ryan suggested that the opposition might be based on fear of the unknown rather than genuine concerns about his worthiness. He proposed that meeting with the critics and demonstrating human values might help ease their worries about cultural contamination. The next day, Ryan spent time with Princess Zarevith in the ship's library, where she showed him historical records of Zephyrian expansion across the galaxy. She was more open than her sister and enjoyed discussing the philosophical differences between human and Zephyrian worldviews. Princess Zareveth admitted that she had been curious about humans ever since her mother first mentioned the possibility of choosing an alien mate. She had studied human culture and was impressed by their creativity and adaptability in solving problems. Ryan learned that Zephyrian society valued collective harmony above individual desires, which sometimes prevented innovation and creative thinking. Princess Zareveth believed that human perspectives could help their empire grow and adapt to new challenges in the galaxy. They discussed the concept of individual freedom, which was central to human culture but foreign to Zephyrian thinking. Ryan explained that humans believed each person should have the right to choose their own path in life while still contributing to society's greater good. Princess Zaraveth found this idea both exciting and frightening because it challenged everything she had been taught about proper social order. She wondered if combining human individualism with Zephyrian collective wisdom might create a better system for governing their empire. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Captain Jake Martinez was dealing with political pressure from human leaders who wanted Ryan brought home immediately. Admiral Patricia Hayes supported the mission, but Senator Carl Murphy argued that allowing a human to join an alien royal family set a dangerous precedent. Senator Murphy believed that Ryan was being manipulated by advanced alien psychology and that his decisions could not be trusted. He wanted to send a military rescue mission to extract Ryan before he could make any commitments that might bind humanity to alien interests. Dr. Amanda Foster, from the Xenobiology Department, argued that Ryan's situation represented the greatest opportunity for peaceful contact with an advanced alien civilization. She believed that opposing the Queen's choice could destroy any chance of building positive relationships with the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Hayes decided to send a diplomatic message to Queen Vextera, expressing human concerns while confirming that Ryan was acting as a free agent. The message emphasized that any decisions Ryan made would be his own choice and would not automatically bind Earth to any agreements. Back on the Zephyrian ship, Ryan noticed that tensions were growing among the crew members. Some aliens treated him with respect, while others barely acknowledged his presence. He realized that his success in the trials had not convinced everyone that humans belonged among their people. Lord Commander Vexver arrived on the ship and immediately requested a meeting with Queen Vextera. He was the leader of the military forces and had significant influence over Zephyrian politics. His opposition to the Queen's decision could cause serious problems for the royal family. During a private dinner with both princesses, Ryan learned more about the complex relationships within Zephyrian high society. Princess Kirillin explained that Lord Commander Vexver had expected to arrange marriages for both sisters that would strengthen military alliances across the empire. Princess Zaraveth added that High Priestess Valandra also opposed their mother's choice because she believed that mixing bloodlines would weaken the telepathic abilities that made Zephyrians superior to other species. Ryan realized that his presence was creating a political crisis that could tear apart the royal family and destabilize the entire empire. He wondered if he should withdraw from consideration to prevent harm to the people who had shown him kindness and respect. Both princesses insisted that he should not give up because doing so would prove their critics right about human weakness and unreliability. They believed that standing firm in the face of opposition would demonstrate the strength and courage that their mother had seen in him. The three of them began working together to develop strategies for dealing with the political opposition. Ryan suggested that they should arrange meetings with key critics to address their concerns directly, rather than allowing rumors and fear to spread unchecked. Princess Kirillin used her telepathic abilities to monitor the emotional states of various court members and identify those who might be willing to listen to reasonable arguments. Princess Zaraveth researched historical precedents for royal marriages that had initially been controversial, but later proved beneficial. Ryan spent time learning more about Zephyrian military structure and religious beliefs so he could speak knowledgeably with Lord Commander Vexver and High Priestess Valandra when they met. He wanted to show respect for their positions while explaining why human participation could strengthen, rather than weaken their society. The first meeting with Lord Commander Vexver was tense and formal. The military leader questioned Ryan about human combat abilities and strategic thinking. He seemed surprised when Ryan demonstrated detailed knowledge of Zephyrian military history and proposed improvements to their tactical doctrines. High Priestess Valandra was more hostile and accused Ryan of trying to corrupt sacred Zephyrian traditions with alien influences. Ryan listened respectfully to her concerns, and then explained how human spiritual practices might complement, rather than replace, Zephyrian religious beliefs. By the end of these meetings, Ryan had not completely won over either critic, but he had earned their grudging respect for his knowledge and sincerity. Both leaders agreed to watch his progress, rather than immediately demanding his removal from consideration. Queen Vextara privately told Ryan that she was proud of how he had handled the political pressure. She explained that the opposition was partly a test to see if he could navigate complex social situations without losing his integrity or abandoning his values. As the tensions continued to build, Ryan found himself growing closer to both princesses. Princess Kirillin had begun to appreciate his analytical mind and his ability to see solutions that combined logic with emotional understanding. Princess Zareveth enjoyed his willingness to question established traditions, while still showing respect for Zephyrian culture. Ryan realized that he was falling in love with both women in different ways, and that they were developing genuine feelings for him as well. The relationship was unlike anything in human experience, but it felt natural and right for all three of them. The political crisis was forcing them to depend on each other for support, and creating bonds that went beyond the formal requirements of royal marriage. Ryan began to believe that Queen Vextara's vision of uniting their species through love and mutual respect might actually be possible. The attack came without warning in the early hours of the morning cycle. Ryan woke to the sound of explosions and energy weapons firing throughout the royal ship. Emergency lights flashed red as alarm systems screamed warnings about unauthorized combat in the corridors. Princess Kirillin burst into Ryan's quarters wearing battle armor and carrying weapons. She told him that Lord Commander Thexver had launched a military coup against their mother and was trying to seize control of the Empire. Rebel forces had taken control of several key ships in the fleet and were fighting their way toward the royal chambers. Princess Zareveth arrived moments later, also dressed for combat. She reported that their mother was safe, but trapped in the throne room by enemy soldiers. The royal guard was fighting hard, but they were outnumbered by the rebel forces who had been planning this attack for weeks. Ryan grabbed the Zephyrian armor that had been made for him and followed the princesses through corridors filled with smoke and the sounds of battle. He had trained with Zephyrian weapons during his trials, but had never expected to use them in actual combat against people he had met and spoken with. Lord Commander Vexver's voice echoed through the ship's communication system as he announced that Queen Vextara had been mentally compromised by alien influence and was no longer fit to rule the Empire. He declared himself temporary leader until the Queen could be treated for her condition and the alien contamination could be removed. The rebel commander ordered his forces to capture Ryan alive as proof of the Queen's mental instability. He claimed that no rational Zephyrian ruler would choose an alien mate for royal daughters, and that the Queen's decision proved she had been brainwashed by human psychological manipulation. Ryan and the princesses fought their way through 3 levels of the ship toward the throne room where Queen Vextara was making her last stand. They encountered groups of rebel soldiers who tried to capture Ryan while avoiding serious harm to the princesses who were still considered valuable royal assets. During the fighting, Ryan proved that his training had been effective as he worked alongside Zephyrian warriors to defeat their enemies. His human adaptability allowed him to use tactics that surprised the rebels who had expected him to be weak and helpless in real combat. Princess Kirillin used her telepathic abilities to coordinate their movements and warn them of enemy positions, while Princess Zareveth demonstrated the advanced combat skills that all royal children learned from birth. The 3 of them worked together as an effective team despite the chaos around them. They reached the throne room to find Queen Vextara, surrounded by her most loyal guards, fighting desperately against overwhelming numbers of rebel troops. The Queen was wounded, but still commanding her forces with the skill and courage that had made her one of the greatest rulers in Zephyrian history. Ryan suggested a strategy that combined human guerrilla tactics with Zephyrian superior firepower to break through the rebel lines and reach the Queen. His plan required the princesses to trust his judgment completely and follow his lead, even when his methods seemed strange or risky. The attack succeeded and they managed to fight their way to Queen Vextara's side. The queen smiled when she saw Ryan and told him that his presence in the battle proved he was truly worthy to be part of their family. She said that no male had ever shown such courage in defending the royal bloodline. The battle was far from over as Lord Commander Vexfor brought reinforcements and surrounded the throne room with heavy weapons. He demanded that Queen Vextara surrender and agree to medical treatment that would remove the alien influence from her mind. Queen Vextara refused and declared that her choice of a human mate for her daughters was made with complete mental clarity and represented the future evolution of their species. She challenged Lord Commander Vexfor to single combat if he truly believed she was unfit to rule. The rebel commander declined the challenge and instead ordered his forces to use non-lethal weapons to subdue everyone in the throne room. He claimed that the queen's willingness to fight her own people proved that she had been completely corrupted by alien contact. Meanwhile on Earth, the human government was receiving reports of the battle through long-range communications from Captain Jake Martinez, who had remained in the area with a small fleet of human ships. Admiral Patricia Hayes faced a critical decision about whether to intervene in an alien civil war. Senator Carl Murphy argued that the rebellion proved his warnings about the dangers of alien contact had been correct. He demanded that human forces rescue Ryan immediately and break off all relations with the Zephyrian Empire before the violence spread to Earth. Dr. Amanda Foster countered that helping Queen Vextara defeat the rebellion would demonstrate human loyalty and establish strong foundations for future cooperation between the species. She believed that abandoning their allies would make humans appear weak and untrustworthy. Admiral Hayes decided to authorize limited military support for the Queen's forces. Captain Martinez received orders to provide tactical assistance and medical aid while avoiding direct involvement in the fighting. The human intervention would be presented as humanitarian assistance rather than military alliance. Back in the throne room, Ryan noticed that the rebel forces were being careful not to damage important cultural artifacts and religious symbols. He realized that Lord Commander Vexfor was trying to maintain legitimacy by preserving Zephyrian traditions even while overthrowing their ruler. Ryan proposed a strategy that would use the rebels' respect for tradition against them. He suggested that Queen Vextara invoke the ancient right of trial by combat, but name him as her champion instead of fighting personally. This would force the rebels to either accept his right to defend the crown or admit they no longer respected Zephyrian law. Princess Kirillin supported the plan because it would give Ryan a chance to prove himself to the entire empire, while Princess Zareveth worried that he might be killed by a stronger Zephyrian warrior. Queen Vextara agreed to the strategy because it offered the best chance of ending the rebellion without massive bloodshed. When the challenge was announced, Lord Commander Vexfor was forced to accept or appear to be rejecting sacred traditions. He chose his strongest warrior to fight Ryan in single combat, with the understanding that the winner would determine the future leadership of the empire. The combat arena was cleared in the center of the throne room, while representatives from both sides witnessed the ritual battle. Ryan faced a Zephyrian warrior who was larger and stronger than any human, but he used speed and tactical thinking to overcome the physical disadvantage. The fight lasted for nearly an hour, as Ryan avoided his opponent's powerful attacks, while looking for opportunities to strike at weak points in the alien's armor. He used techniques learned from human martial arts, combined with Zephyrian combat training to confuse and frustrate his enemy. Princess Kirillin and Princess Zareveth watched anxiously as Ryan gradually wore down his opponent through superior strategy and endurance. The Zephyrian warrior had expected a quick victory, but found himself struggling against an enemy who refused to fight according to conventional patterns. Ryan finally achieved victory by using a combination move that trapped his opponent's weapons while delivering a stunning blow that left the warrior unconscious but alive. The defeat of their champion forced the rebel forces to acknowledge that the gods had chosen to support Queen Vextara's rule. Lord Commander Vexfer admitted defeat, but warned that many Zephyrians would never accept alien influence in their government. He surrendered his weapons and submitted to royal justice, while declaring that history would judge whether the Queen's choices had strengthened or weakened their empire. Queen Vextara showed mercy to the rebels and pardoned most of them while removing Lord Commander Vexver from his position of authority. She announced that Ryan had proven himself worthy not just of joining the royal family but of defending Zephyrian honor and tradition. The victory celebration was interrupted when Queen Vextara collapsed from wounds she had received during the battle. The royal physicians worked frantically to save her life, while Ryan and the princesses kept vigil at her bedside, hoping that their newfound unity as a family would not be destroyed by tragedy. Queen Vextara's condition grew worse, despite the best efforts of the royal physicians. The wounds from the battle had damaged vital organs, and the stress of the rebellion had weakened her body beyond what medical technology could repair. She called Ryan and her daughters to her bedside for final words before the end came. The dying queen told Ryan that she had seen something special in him from their first meeting that convinced her he could bridge the gap between their species. She said that her choice had not been about politics or strategy, but about recognizing a kindred spirit who could love her daughters and help them grow into better leaders. Princess Carolyn held her mother's hand and promised to honor the decision about Ryan, even though it had cost them so much pain and conflict. She had learned through the trials and the rebellion that strength came not from tradition alone but from the courage to embrace change when it served the greater good. Princess Zareveth wept as she told her mother that she had been right about the potential for humans and Zephyrians to create something beautiful together. She said that watching Ryan fight for their family had shown her what love truly meant, and that she was ready to build a new future with him. Queen Vextara used the last of her strength to perform the ancient binding ritual that would make Ryan an official member of the royal family. The ceremony required her to transfer some of her life essence to him, which would grant him telepathic abilities while creating an unbreakable bond with her daughters. The ritual was painful for all of them, as Queen Vextara's life force flowed into Ryan and connected him mentally with both princesses. For the first time, he could feel their thoughts and emotions directly, while they experienced human consciousness through his mind. The connection revealed the depth of love that had grown between the three of them during their time together. Ryan felt overwhelming affection and respect from both princesses while they sensed his complete commitment to their happiness and the welfare of their empire. Queen Vextara died peacefully after completing the ritual, knowing that she had secured the future of her bloodline and created a new chapter in Zephyrian history. Her final words named Ryan as prince consort and co-ruler alongside her daughters, who would govern the empire together. The funeral ceremonies lasted for 7 days, as representatives from across the empire came to pay their respects to their fallen queen. Many who had opposed her choice of a human mate now saw Ryan standing with dignity beside the princesses and began to reconsider their prejudices. Ryan struggled with grief for the woman who had changed his life, while also feeling overwhelmed by his new responsibilities. He was no longer just a scientist from Earth, but a leader of an interstellar empire with millions of subjects depending on his decisions. Princess Carolyn helped him understand the complex political relationships that held the empire together, while Princess Zareveth taught him about the cultural traditions that gave meaning to Zephyrian life. Together they formed a leadership team that combined human innovation with alien wisdom. The coronation ceremony took place on the capital planet Nextura, where Ryan was officially crowned as Prince Consort in front of representatives from hundreds of worlds. The event mixed human and Zephyrian traditions as Ryan had requested to symbolize the new era of cooperation between species. Captain Jake Martinez attended the coronation as Earth's first official ambassador to the Zephyrian Empire. He brought greetings from Admiral Patricia Hayes and messages of support from many human leaders, who now saw the alliance as beneficial for both species. Dr. Amanda Foster had been appointed as the head of cultural exchange programs that would allow humans and Zephyrians to learn from each other. She was excited about the scientific discoveries that would come from sharing knowledge between the two civilizations. Senator Carl Murphy continued to oppose the relationship, but his influence had decreased after the successful alliance proved its value. Most human leaders now supported Ryan's position and were eager to establish trade agreements and joint research projects with the Zephyrian Empire. Ryan's first major decision, as Prince Consort, was to establish councils that included representatives from all the different species within the Empire. He believed that good government required input from everyone who would be affected by policy decisions. Princess Kirillin focused on military and security matters, while Princess Zareveth took responsibility for cultural affairs and scientific research. Ryan coordinated between different departments and served as liaison with other alien governments, who were curious about the new leadership structure. The first year of their rule was challenging as they worked to heal the divisions caused by the rebellion, while implementing reforms that would strengthen the Empire. Ryan's human perspective helped them find solutions to problems that had troubled previous generations of Zephyrian rulers. They established new educational programs that taught tolerance and cooperation between different species. They reformed the military to focus on defense rather than conquest, and created economic policies that benefited all worlds within the Empire rather than just the core planets. The most significant change came when Princess Kirillin announced that she was pregnant with Ryan's child. The news caused excitement throughout the Empire as people realized they would soon see the first human Zephyrian hybrid, who would represent the future of both species. Princess Zareveth also became pregnant several months later, confirming that the royal bloodline would continue with a new generation that combined the best qualities of both parents. The children would grow up understanding both human and Zephyr cultures and could serve as bridges between the species. The births were celebrated across the Empire as symbols of hope and unity. The children showed characteristics of both species, including telepathic abilities inherited from their mothers and creative, problem-solving skills that seemed to come from their human father. Ryan marveled at how much his life had changed from the day when he was a simple scientist studying alien life to becoming the father of children who might shape the future of galactic civilization. He felt enormous responsibility but also deep satisfaction in knowing that he was helping to create a better world. The hybrid children grew quickly and showed remarkable intelligence that exceeded what either species could achieve alone. They could communicate telepathically like Zephyrians, but also developed individual personalities and creative thinking that reflected their human heritage. Other alien governments began requesting similar cultural exchange programs after seeing the success of the Human-Zephyrian alliance. Ryan found himself hosting diplomatic meetings with representatives from dozens of different species who wanted to learn about peaceful cooperation. Captain Martinez was promoted to admiral and given command of the joint human Zephyrian fleet that patrolled the border regions where hostile aliens sometimes threatened peaceful worlds. The cooperation between human and Zephyrian military forces had proven extremely effective in maintaining security. Dr. Foster's research programs had produced remarkable scientific breakthroughs by combining human creativity with Zephyrian technology. They had developed new medical treatments, new energy sources, and faster methods of space travel that benefited all members of the Alliance. 10 years after the coronation, Ryan stood in the royal gardens watching his children play with young Zephyrians and humans who had come to the capital planet for education. The sight filled him with pride and hope for a future where different species could live together in harmony. Princess Kirillin joined him and commented on how peaceful the Empire had become under their joint leadership. She said that her mother would have been proud to see how the vision of unity between species had become reality. Through love and mutual respect, Princess Zareveth brought news that another alien species had requested membership in their alliance. She was excited about the opportunity to welcome new friends and learn about different ways of life while sharing the benefits of their cooperative society. Ryan reflected on the journey that had brought him from a human research ship to the throne of an alien empire. He had learned that love could indeed transcend the boundaries between species, and that courage to embrace the unknown could create possibilities that no one had imagined. The story that had begun with one alien queen's controversial choice had become a legend of hope that inspired peaceful cooperation throughout the galaxy. Ryan knew that the future would bring new challenges, but he faced them with confidence, knowing that love and understanding could overcome any obstacle.